Major League Soccer is the most complicated league in all of Football Manager. There are salary caps and designated players, you make trades instead of transfers, and there's something called the Super Draft. But I've learnt all of these rules in order to win MLS with a very unlikely team.
What's up guys, this is Ray J. Joseph, captain of the Hellenite Sports Club here in the beautiful US Virgin Islands. Repping our new jerseys as you could see, and at this time I want to challenge Tom to do a video and bring us home that MLS trophy. Any pressure? No pressure. I'm out.
I'm sure this won't be impossibly hard. To complete it though, we are going to have to complete various goals. First of all, we need to rebuild the club through the Super Draft and trades. Then we need to climb the leagues and routinely make the playoffs. And once we've done that, we can then focus on winning the MLS Cup. When it's written down like that, it looks pretty simple, but I bet it won't be. The club captain is Ray J. Joseph, who we're going to use as a right wing back in Season 1. But our best player is striker McKean St. Croix, and at first glance, he looks great with 14 finishing and 14 pace, until we compare him with a 36-year-old Luis Suarez, who blows him out of the water. So we're going to have to recruit some more players to the team to strengthen. The thing is, no one wants to join us in Season 1. So we've had to sign MLS rejects like Owen O'Malley from St. Louis 2 and Colin Warner from Colorado Rapids to bulk up the team. So obviously in Season 1, we are predicted to finish rock bottom of the Supporters' Shield table in 29th. MLS is split into an Eastern and Western Conference. We play in the Eastern Conference, and we'll play all Eastern Conference teams home and away, and then 6 Western Conference teams once across the season. If we finish in the top 9, we get to play in the playoffs, which is a knockout tournament in each conference, and the winner of each conference final goes to play for the MLS Cup. So technically, you could have a situation where you've had a terrible regular season and finish in the bottom half of the Supporters' Shield table, but still make the playoffs, and then go on to win the MLS Cup and be crowned champions of MLS. Either way, we're trying to be defensively solid, so we're setting up in a 5-2-1-2 formation, and we were able to earn ourselves a solid draw away from home at NYCFC. And then we travelled to Vancouver, where we scored in the 93rd minute to earn another draw, which were the only 2 points we collected all season. At least we kept the minus goal difference to just double figures. So this challenge might be a little bit more tricky than we imagined, but there is a silver lining to finishing bottom of the table. We now get the first pick in the Super Draft at the start of Season 2. All American sports have a draft system where the best players from college get picked by the teams in the professional league, from worst to best. So technically, the best player goes to the worst team. These picks can be traded. For example, Montreal want to give us their first round 4th pick and third round 4th pick for our first round first pick. Obviously, we said no though, because we want the number 1 pick so we can pick the best player in the draft pool. Now the game has presented us with a mock draft, and it thinks we're going to pick Seth Rudd. He's a 19-year-old centre back who probably has the highest current ability in the draft, but with just 11 heading, 11 jumping reach, and at just 180 centimeters tall, I'm not so sure I want him. Instead, I am more tempted by Brian De La Torre, who is predicted to go second to the Vancouver Whitecaps. I think he's the way better option. So with the first pick of the draft, we take Brian De La Torre, and he's going to be lining up this season in one of these beautiful Hellenite kits. I was sent their shirt by Sangalo, who partner with unique clubs from around the world to design and manufacture their football kits. Then they make them available for us shirt collectors to buy, so we can make some really cool additions to our wardrobes. Plus, because Sangalo work directly with the clubs, the shirt can be a completely tailored design. For example, the club's motto is on the back of the Hellenite shirt on the neck. And because Sangalo works so closely with all the clubs involved, making a purchase from Sangalo has a big impact on the club. Hellenites, the most decorated team in the US Virgin Islands with 5 titles, are known for their youth development and have produced players who now play internationally for the US Virgin Islands and St. Lucia. So when you purchase a Hellenite shirt from Sangalo, just know you're helping the club develop youngsters for the future to further football in the Caribbean. You can browse all their partner clubs on their website, with brand new Hanoi FC kits coming later this week. These look very cool, via the link in the description or by scanning the QR code on screen right now. In the second round of the Super Draft, we picked right back Carlos Santos, and then in the third round, we collected Tom Thomas. More for his name than anything else, if I'm honest. So now we need to continue making trades to strengthen the team. We gave up our 2025 third round pick for Tyler Yazzie, who was drafted by the Vancouver Whitecaps, but is now ours. But our new best player is Roman Berkey, who we traded for with St. Louis City. In return, they get our 2027 second round draft pick and £1 million in general allocation money, which is basically just special money that you can use to buy down player contracts or use in trades. So through a mixture of the draft and trades, we are slowly making this team better and working towards our goal of winning the MLS Cup. After a 0-0 draw on the opening day of the season, number 1 pick Brian De La Torre scored from a corner to earn us a draw against Chicago Fire, and then did the same against Columbus Crew for another draw. But just over halfway through the season, they're the only 3 points we have. So at the end of the European season in July, we signed Alexis Sanchez on a free transfer to bolster our attack. Despite this, results weren't improving, as we went 1-0 down to Vancouver Whitecaps. But our third round draft pick, Tom Thomas, then scored a goal to get us back on level terms. And in the dying moments of the game, Alexis Sanchez leapt like a salmon to head us in front and win our first MLS game 18 months into the challenge. Following that, we won 2 more games against CF Montreal and Philadelphia Union to bring our total up to 3 wins for the season and 14 points in total. A 600% increase on last season. It means we once again have first pick in the Super Draft, but the top 4 picks are all centre backs and fullbacks, which we already have a lot of. Instead, we're going to go for Conrad Tamala, a right inside forward who we're going to build our attack around as we change formation this season. I think moving to a 4-3-3 will maybe play to our strengths a little better. Plus, we were also able to draft a solid striker in the second round to play backup to Alexis Sanchez. But there is another reason I have decided to switch formations, and it's because of our first designated player signing. Oscar Pereira signs on a free transfer after leaving Atletico Nacional at the end of his contract. We also traded with Cincinnati for Miles Robinson to become our second designated player, which on reflection does feel like a wild overpay, especially because we signed Stefano Sensi for 5 times less per week to be our third designated player. So through a mixture of the draft, trades and free transfers, I think we have successfully rebuilt this Hellenites team and we should now be competing for a spot in the playoffs. Also, just want to say a big thank you to you lot for all your support in 2024. It was by far the best year we've had on the TomFM channel, and incredibly, we are now the most subscribed Football Manager YouTube channel in the UK. Number 2 in the world, behind some bloke from America. I think he's called Fiji or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, just want to say a big thanks. I'd never ever take you guys for granted. You guys watching my videos put me in the position to have the absolute dream job. So I've got loads of content planned for 2025 and hopefully you're going to enjoy it just as much as you did in 2024. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, would massively appreciate it right now if you could all press that subscribe button as we work towards our goal for 2025. We started off Season 3 with our biggest win yet. A 4-1 thrashing of Orlando City, with Oscar Pereira and Conrad Tamala scoring a goal each. Makeen St. Croix is still contributing to the team. He scored the game's only goal in a 1-0 win over New England Revolution, and the winner in a 2-1 victory against Portland Timbers. Our Season 2 third round draft pick, Tom Thomas, was also having a breakout season, as he scored 8 goals in all competitions. So whilst no one scored big numbers, we had 6 players score at least 7 goals as we finally get ourselves off the foot of the table. This season, we finished 5th in the Eastern Conference, which means we play 4th seed Charlotte FC in the first round of the playoffs. In the first leg, we travelled to Charlotte and waited an hour for the game's opening goal, which was scored by Charlotte. But then just 60 seconds later, we pulled one back through Oscar Pereira, and then just 5 minutes after that, Alexis Sanchez scored the goal to win the game 2-1. But our number 1 draft pick and star this season, Conrad Tamala, broke his ankle during that match, and we now have to defend the lead without him. Annoyingly though, Charlotte took the lead into the second leg 25 minutes in, and the game stayed that way until the 92nd minute, when Alexis Sanchez scored to win the tie, or so we thought, because less than 60 seconds later, Charlotte scored a second to make it 3-3 on aggregate, not taking the game to extra time, but instead to a third leg back in Charlotte, where we ran out of steam. The North Carolinians scored twice, either side of half-time, to win 2-0 and knock us out of the playoffs. So it may end in disappointment, but it's been our best season yet, and with just a few more additions, I reckon we can make a real good go of things next season. We have a brand new striker in Alan Obando, who signs on a free transfer after leaving Barcelona from Ecuador, not Spain. We also traded draft picks and money for Noel Buck from New England. The 20-year-old midfielder will be the heartbeat of our midfield for years to come. And Gabriel Fuentes joins us as a new left back to dramatically improve the team in that position. And all three worked out nicely. Obando was like a duck to water, scoring on his debut in a 4-0 win over New England. He then scored a hat-trick in a 7-2 win over Philadelphia Union, where Brian De La Torre also scored himself a hat-trick. But for me, it was Oscar Pereira who was our most impressive player this season. The left winger scored 15 goals and assisted a further 11. But not far behind him was Conrad Tamala, who scored 12 and assisted 14, as he made a huge leap forward this season. We finished top of the Eastern Conference by 25 points ahead of the reigning champions New York Red Bulls. But remember, this does not make us the champions of MLS. To be the champions, we have to go on to win the playoffs. And up first, we have Inter Miami. Here, we didn't make the same mistakes as last season. Stefano Sensi scored twice in the first leg as we won 4-0, before travelling to Miami and winning 8-0. Alan Obando scored a hat-trick in the process, sending us to the conference semi-finals. Here we're up against Chicago Fire in what is a one-legged affair. We took control of the game in the first half, scoring 5 minutes in with Obando, doubling the lead from distance via Pereira, before Brian De La Torre scored from a corner. Chicago did pull one back in the second half, but it wasn't enough, and we make it to the conference final. Although this is uncharted territory for us, we took it in our stride and scored first through Pereira against the New York Red Bulls. 15 minutes later, we then doubled our lead, but just before half-time, the Red Bulls pulled one back. They are the reigning champions, and they showed us why that's the case, when they then levelled the scores 12 minutes into the second half, and after 90 minutes, we were still drawing. So the game went to extra time, where Adama Traore gave the Red Bulls the lead, and then to make matters worse, they scored a fourth with just 12 minutes to play. Despite Brian De La Torre scoring as a third goal, it was too little too late. We may have been the best team across the season, but we now do not have a chance to win the title. That is the harsh reality of the MLS, and it's part of the reason why it's one of the most complicated and difficult leagues to have success in Football Manager. But I think this does mean we're now a playoff regular, so we can tick that off our list and focus on the sole goal of winning the entire thing. Our team is really good. We saw that from how well we played in the regular season, but to be champions, we need to improve our defence. So we traded away Tyler Yazzie, our starting defensive midfielder, for the 4th pick in the upcoming Super Draft. That pick turned into Sean Lakin, a right back who isn't great right now, but we do need him because we only have one natural right back in the entire squad. To replace Yazzie, we signed Jocelyn Escobar on a free transfer after he left Union Magdalena in Colombia at the end of his contract. We also improved our backline with Caetano from Corinthians, which I thought was going to round off our transfer business this winter. But then I saw two incredible opportunities. We sent two of our young talents with high potential and some money to Philadelphia for Matthias Bogus, a win-now midfielder who is an improvement on the aging Sensi midfield and will help us control games more. And then I was alerted to a wonder kid available on a free transfer. Naipan had left Rosenborg at the end of his contract in December, so we offered him £50,000 a week to be a designated player on the roster. So we now have one of the best wonder kids in Football Manager 2024 in our squad. If this team can't win the MLS Cup, I don't know who can. because we are stacked with talent. Alan Abando started the season off perfectly, as he scored 5 goals in our first 2 games of the season to get us off to winning ways. But soon, this turned into the year of Oscar Pereira. The Colombian scored 32 goals in 34 MLS matches this season from the left wing, breaking the MLS record for the most goals scored in a single season. Our 2 new midfielders also got in on the action. Naipan scored 7 goals and collected 7 assists across the campaign, but Bogus hit 9 goals and assisted a further 11 goals to dramatically improve our production from midfield. So once again, we topped the Eastern Conference table, but with 3 less points than last season. In the first round of the playoffs, we've been drawn against CF Montreal. At home in the first leg, Abando, Bogus and Pereira all scored to win 3-0 and give us the advantage heading into the second leg. Here Pereira scored twice in Canada to ensure we once again make it to the semi-finals, where we have a chance to get revenge. New York Red Bulls travelled to the US Virgin Islands, only for Naipan to score less than 60 seconds into the one-legged tie. Not long after, Conrad Tamala doubled our lead, but we've been in this position before. Luckily for us this time, Tamala scored a 3rd goal 12 minutes into the second half. 10 minutes later, New York did get themselves a goal, which did start to worry me. But thankfully, Noel Buck scored late on to secure a huge 4-1 win and a spot in the conference finals. Now we need to beat Chicago Fire in order to go one better than last season and reach the MLS Cup final. The Fire weathered an early storm, as shots from distance were saved by the keeper. A defensive error went unpunished as we couldn't find the back of the net, and then we had an effort hit the woodwork. Whatever we did in the first 20 minutes, we just couldn't score. But we finally managed to break the deadlock when right back Santos had space to penetrate into the area and find Tamala with a low cross. Tamala did have another chance right before the end of the first half when he intercepted a loose pass, but the keeper, Luca Lewis, ended up pulling off an incredible save. Somehow at the break, he's managed to save 8 of our 9 shots. Despite being the way better side, Luca Lewis was denying his goals, and the longer the game stays at 1-0, the more likely Chicago are to get back into the game. So of course, with 70 minutes on the clock, the Fire worked the ball across the midfield and found an open Lewis Morgan, who levelled up the scores. Now we were in panic mode. Moments after the equaliser, we were once again denied by the post, but we were finally saved by an unlikely hero. Backup centre-back Eric McHugh had been playing in the spot of injured De La Torre and rose highest from a corner to deliver us the all-important second goal, which was just enough to squeeze past Chicago Fire. Now we're playing against Real Salt Lake, the winners of the Western Conference playoffs, for a chance to complete the challenge by winning the MLS Cup. Any pressure? No pressure. Less than 60 seconds into the game, the RSL defence had a mare. A poor back pass was intercepted by Abando, who took the ball away from the keeper, took a shot, only for the defender to stop the ball on the line. This game was much tougher than Chicago. Chances were few and far between. But 28 minutes into the game, a blocked cross fell to Pereira, whose shot was deflected past the keeper and taken into the back of the net. A lucky series of events for us. 10 minutes later though, we were way more intentional, as Naipan played a super pass into Pereira, who found Abando in the middle, who tapped in our second. At the halftime break, we have one hand on the MLS Cup trophy. In the second half, we had a perfect chance to put the game beyond all doubt, as Abando broke free from the defence, only to put his effort wide of the mark. But our number 1 draft pick from Season 3, Conrad Tamala, repaid the faith we've put in him by burying a 3rd goal on the 60-minute mark, which we did need, because not long after, Real Salt Lake decided to play some good football, switching the play and scoring a tiny looking goal to reduce the deficit. But we had an answer to it. Pereira won the ball on halfway and we moved forwards with pace, finding a pass to Tamala, who found the back of the net, making it 4-1. We've done it! We've taken a small club from the US Virgin Islands and turned them into MLS Champions. Remember, if you want to get yourselves a Hella Night shirt or have a look at any of the other amazing partner clubs that Sangalo work with, check out their website linked in the description or by scanning the QR code on screen right now. Also, it turns out loads of you loved my last video where I created myself as a football player in Football Manager and I simulated my career to see how many Ballon d'Ors I could win. So we are going to do a follow-up to that video, so if you haven't seen the one we did last week, this is your chance to catch up now. It's on screen for you right now in this pop-up for you to click and watch Why can I not say now? Why did that not come out my mouth properly, the word now?